everybody. This is the Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Courts 7, number 7, and the corporate denial. Okay, this is the single biggest presumption that these Satanist whores are making and how to defeat it. A kangaroo court is a term descriptive of a sham legal proceeding in which a person's rights are totally disregarded and in which the result is a foregone conclusion because of the bias of the court or other tribunal. These kangaroo courts are everywhere, and they're selling. Why do you think United States has the biggest population of prisoners as a percentage of the population than any other country on the planet? It's because of these Satanists selling people into slavery. Anyway, so part 1 of my Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Courts videos, it talked about how all courts are, there are 2 general kinds, the 3 general types of jurisdiction, what a kangaroo court is, why they're holding a kangaroo court, why they want you to have a liar, and how to tell it's a kangaroo court, and what they do in a kangaroo court, and how they are Satanists. Part 2 continues on with telling that it's a kangaroo court and why they do a kangaroo court, but it also goes beyond that and talks about what's been done by others to defeat their kangaroo court without going in there, and some things to do if they drag you in. And part 3, it talks about why they want you to plea bargain. Okay, that's the first thing these Satanists do, is they try and get you to plea bargain. What happens if you do enter into a plea bargain? Part 4, it talks about how it's Roman cult commercial warfare. It's a contract, and where's the contract? Where's the benefit that I'm supposed to have taken advantage of that subjects me to this? Admit nothing. Make them prove everything. Object to everything. Reject their contract at allocution. And part 5 is object to the testifying by the liars. It's an admiralty proceeding. The so-called judge is bought and paid for a clerk masquerading as a judge. The clerk is sitting there playing stupid. If you do not object, then the bail priest will accept it's true. And part 6, all of these courts are United Nations courts operating under UNIDROIT, Law Merchant, Uniform Commercial Code. There is no common law because of the martial law, and the martial law exists because of the bankruptcies, because of the military occupations, and because there's no money. Judges are bought and paid for clerks, and they collect a royalty. So they wanna sell you down the river. That helps them out. There's Harvard Law Review articles about how most judges retire millionaires because of the royalties they collect in Admiralty maritime law cases. And they want to sell you into slavery to populate the prisons. And it even goes into how it's done. Anyways, now this is part 7. The biggest presumption that they're making is that you're a U.S. citizen, Satanic Trust slave. And this video is about how to defeat that presumption. So in section article, the 14th Amendment, or the 14th, the so-called 14th Amendment is a better terminology here, says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States, okay? And see, the so-called 14th Amendment is unconstitutional video. It's actually a revision, so it's unconstitutional. And so, but they'll assault you with it if you let them. Anyways, and this is Congressional Record, June 13th. This is a summary of the Congressional Record, June 13th, 1967, that's found in the text from pages 15,641 to 15,646. A citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the Public Charitable Trust, the constructive Satanic Trust of U.S. Inc. under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of the USA and U.S. Inc. And this is in Rebolins. Every taxpayer is a Satanic Trust having sufficient interest in preventing the abuse of the trust to be recognized in the field of this court's prerogative jurisdiction. U.S. versus Slater. Slater's protestations to the effect that he derives no benefit from the United States government have no bearing on his legal obligations to pay income taxes. Unless the defendant can establish that he's not a citizen of the United States, the IRS possesses authority to attempt to determine his federal tax liability. So we're going to show you how to establish that you're not a U.S. citizen. an act to establish a code of law for the District of Columbia. The legal estate, this is found at Chapter 56, Section 1617, located at 31 Stat 1432. The legal estate to be in necessitake use. This is the D.C. Code again, which is located at 31 Stat 1189, which was approved on March 3rd, 1901. Anyways, be it further enacted that in an interpretation and construction of said code, the following rules shall be observed, namely, third, the word person shall be held to apply to partnerships and corporations. And this is also D.C. Code, presumption of death, absence for 7 years, located at 31 Stat 1230. If any person shall leave his domicile without any known intention of changing the same, and shall not return or be heard from for 7 years from the time of his so leaving, he shall be presumed to be dead. In any case wherein his death shall come in question, unless proof be made that he was alive within that time. Okay, and so again, they're going to presume that you're dead, that you're a cestacate trust, and this just gives them the presumption, no matter what. Okay, and this is all coming from the Roman cult. This is Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835 edition, Volume 2, under the definition of mort main. Yet still it was found difficult to set bounds to ecclesiastical ingenuity, for when they were driven out of all their former holds, they devised a new method of conveyance by which the lands were granted not to themselves directly, but to nominal fiefs, to the use of the religious houses, thus distinguishing between the possession and the use, and receiving the actual profits, while the season of the lands remained in the nominal fief, who was held by the courts of equity, then under the direction of the clergy, to be bound in conscience to account or tax. They're talking about a tax, to his cestacate use for the rents and emoluments of the estate. And it is to these inventions that our practitioners are indebted for the introduction of uses and trusts, the foundation of modern conveyancing. This thing says volumes. First of all, it says that it was ecclesiastical ingenuity. Okay, that's the Roman cult. And then it talks about how the courts of equity were then under the direction of the clergy. That's the Roman cult. They're still under the direction of the Roman cult. And to be bound, why do you think they wear that black robe? Okay. To be bound in conscience to account to cestacate use for the rents and emoluments of the state. That's talking about taxes. And in 1835, it was the foundation of modern conveyancing. It's still the foundation of modern conveyancing. It's the foundation of everything that happens. Status, standing, state, condition. Compare a state. A corporation has no status as a citizen outside the jurisdiction where it was created. That's Anderson Law Dictionary, 1889. A corporation is a citizen is a corporation. If they're assaulting you with the cestacate trust, then you're in United States. Okay, you're in actually District of Columbia. Okay, that's where you're at. The term resident and citizen United States is distinguished from a citizen of one of the several states in that the former is a special class of citizen created by Congress. It might be correctly said that there is no such thing as a citizen of the United States. A citizen of any one of the states of the Union is held to being called a citizen of the United States, although technically and abstractly there is no such thing. All subjects over which the sovereign power of the state extends are objects of taxation, but those over which it does not extend are exempt from taxation. This proposition may be pronounced as self-evident. It's obvious. The sovereignty of the state extends to everything which exists by its authority or its permission. Gee, that sounds like a U.S. citizen. And now a little advertisement. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to click the bell next to the subscribe button so that you're notified when there's a new upload. This is the front page of the channel. And notice the arrow is pointing to the bell. Okay, so you got to click the bell, and that will notify you, or a little pop-up will come up, and you'll have to say yes, that you want to be notified about anything that happens. This is Crandall versus Nevada, U.S. Supreme Court again. The taxing power, being in its nature unlimited over the subjects within its control, would enable the state governments to destroy the above-mentioned rights, okay? The point I'm making here is that if they can take a penny, they can take it all. If you are even the smallest amount under the control, then you are their slave, okay? There's nothing in between. This is the Act of 1871, an act prescribing the form of enacting and resolving clauses of acts and resolutions of Congress and rules of construction, which is approved February 25th, 1871. Be it further enacted in all acts hereafter passed, the word person may extend to be applied to bodies politic and corporate. Okay, so it's all corporate law. This is 26 U.S.C. 7701A1. The term person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation. And include is limiting. I have other videos that talk about that. We're not going to talk about it here. Failure of any adverse party to deny under oath allegation that party is a corporation dispenses with the necessity of proof of that fact, okay? So they just allege that you're a corporation, and if you don't deny it, then you're a corporation, okay? And beyond that, when a complaint is lodged by the government for a fine, fee, or tax, all which of revenue, they're imposed only on corporations, okay? And that's Colonial Pipeline Company versus Triangle. And so anytime they file a complaint, anything that goes on, the presumption is automatically that you're a corporation, okay? That's the only thing they can deal with. If respondent is not a corporation, he cannot appear and plead, okay? So they make it a catch-22, okay? When you appear and plead, then that gives them more right to presume you're a corporation, okay? That's exactly what happens, okay? And so these people are Satanists, okay? They're Satanists. They are the lowest form of life there is. And they even make it a felony to claim you're a U.S. citizen when you know you're not, because then that gives them the presumption that you are. Okay? Really, I'm serious. Whoever falsely and willfully represents himself to be a citizen of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. And so, again, they put that in there to give them the presumption. A fiction of law is an assumption or supposition of law that something which is or may be false is true, or that a state of facts exists which has never really taken place. An assumption for purposes of justice of a fact that does not or may not exist. A rule of law which assumes as true something that is false but not impossible. These people are Satanists. They come up with this stuff. A fiction is a rule of law that assumes something that is or may be false is true. Entity names. This is Texas Administrative Code. And I've seen the same kind of stuff in Arizona Administrative Code, and you'll probably find it in just about every one, but it's hard to say. Entity names may consist of letters of the Roman alphabet, Arabian numerals, and certain symbols capable of being reproduced on the standard English language typewriter or a combination thereof. And then paragraph B, only uppercase or capital letters with no distinction as to typeface or font will be recognized, okay? And that's characters of print acceptable in names, corporations. There are no common law offenses against the United States, okay? And so this is what they do, is they put it all under martial law, and that gets rid of common law. Only those acts which Congress has forbidden with penalties, okay? Penalties, that's an operative word for disobedience of its command or crimes, okay? And so that has to do with contracts. And we talked about contracts in part 6 of this video. Under Texas law, no act or omission is a crime unless made so by statute. Okay, again, Texas is under military occupation, so then actually Texas laws are actually D.C. laws, and so that fits. The legislature may create an offense in the same enactment, provide exceptions to its application. Everything is an admiralty. A writ of error doth not lie upon a sentence in the admiralty, but an appeal, okay? And that's taken from Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835 edition, under the definition of admiralty. But that's citing Book 4 of Coke's Institutes on the Laws of England, like that's the 1500s. All appeals are in admiralty, and that's why it's called a court of appeals, okay? It's the same thing that this is the same thing that's going on that precipitated the War of Independence. This is the causes and necessities for taking up arms, 1775. Statutes have been passed extending the courts of admiralty and vice-admiralty far beyond their ancient limits for depriving us of the accustomed and inestimable privilege of trial by jury in cases affecting both life and property, to supersede the course of common law, and instead thereof to publish an order and use the exercise of law martial. And so they eliminate common law and assault you with martial law, which is satanic. Okay, common law is God's law, martial law is satanic. That's Lucifer's law. And for altering fundamentally the form of government established by charter, we saw the misery to which such despotism, that's military dictatorship, would reduce us. For abolishing, the Founding Fathers had a much better understanding. The people today are a bunch of brain-dead idiots, quite frankly, but hopefully we'll get them woke up. The Declaration of Independence, you have to understand what it is basically a list of grievances, and so these are some of the grievances, and it's got martial law written all over it. For abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, that's military dictatorship, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us for protecting them by a mock trial. That's all martial law. Congress claiming its martial law power to declare war, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions, imposed martial law in the United States and never discontinued it. The result was an extension of military and municipal jurisdiction of Congress. But where's the evidence of this? Look at the 13th Amendment, the Civil Rights Act, the legal tender laws, the 14th Amendment, etc., etc., etc. And that's taken from a book called The Non-Ratification of the 14th Amendment by Judge A.H. Ellard of the Utah Supreme Court, which is associated with this case Diet versus Turner. The 14th Amendment is an extension of the national military powers presently used in a municipal character and enforced by municipal laws stretched far beyond their original limitations and enforced by Article 1 tribunals. That's martial law. And that's, again, that non-ratification of the 14th Amendment. And a little advertisement announcing a subscription-based YouTube channel called Sovereignty International. The recommended cost of the subscription is currently at $1.99 a month because it avoids the advertising only. Originally, when I set up this channel, I wanted to have some exclusive material on there, but after thinking about it, you know, the only power that these New World Order Satanists have over us is through fraud and deception. And my agenda is to expose it for all our benefit. So I can't think of anything that I wouldn't want to have available to people for free. If I'm not saying that I won't ever have anything exclusive, I might. But at this point, the only thing I can guarantee is that it'll avoid advertising, and but it's only $1.99 a month. And if you want to make a donation, it's a great way to make a donation too. And so I'm currently publishing 6 videos a week, and some people have had trouble finding my channel, so a link to it's at the bottom. Actually, that link is not complete, but it's going to be on the next page right here. That's the link to it, and at the top of the page. And another thing that's happened is some people have sent me $1.99, and I was thinking that maybe it's for subscription to the YouTube channel, and I have no control over signing people up at all. I might be able to remove people, but that's about the extent of it. Signing people up, I mean, it's got to go through YouTube. I'm sure YouTube is going to want a piece of the action, and so you got to start a free trial. And they're probably going to want, some sort of payment arrangements or something. I don't know. But at any rate, I have no control over that. And so I sent them an email. The people that sent me $1.99, I haven't heard back. But yeah, so I cannot put anybody, subscribe anybody to the channel. You got to do it yourself. Sorry. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. A penal action is an action on a penal statute, an action for recovery of penalty given by statute. Where an action is founded entirely upon a statute, the only object is to recover a penalty or forfeiture. Such action is a penal action. Remember when I said there's no common law in the United States that all statutes, or I should say all crimes are penalties, have to be defined by Congress. And so this is going into penalties. The words penal and penalty in their strict and primary sense denote a punishment, whether corporal or pecuniary, imposed and enforced by the state for a crime or offense against its laws. The noun penalty is defined forfeiture, or to be forfeited for non-compliance with an agreement, okay? So they want to assault you with one of their little contracts, okay? And that goes back to the corporation. They gotta substantiate, they gotta fabricate evidence of that U.S. citizen slave. The words forfeit and penalty are substantially synonymous. A penal action is one founded entirely on statute and brought with the sole object of recovering a penalty or forfeiture imposed as punishment for a specific offense, while a remedial action is one brought to obtain compensation or indemnity. And so, again, it's a contract, okay? And the contract is the U.S. citizen, okay? That's, you consented to the U.S. citizen. That's really what it comes down to. They got to assault you with one of their law merchant contracts. And this last video, I talk about how exactly they do that. They forge your signature onto a contract and then presume that it's valid. And you don't even know where this contract is or what it is. And meanwhile, they're selling you into jail over it. A penal action is one founded entirely on statute. The only object is to recover a penalty or a forfeiture imposed as a punishment for a certain specific offense, while a remedial action is one which is brought to obtain compensation or indemnity. A penal action is a civil suit brought for the recovery of a statutory forfeiture when inflicted as punishment for an offense against the public. Okay, so all offenses are related to penal statutes. Such actions are civil actions, okay? So it's a civil suit is what it is. On the one hand, closely related to criminal prosecutions. On the other, to actions for private injuries in which the party agreed may by statute recover punitive damages. So, and if you ever have seen people go into court and say, oh, well, I'd like to know the nature of this action, the clerk, the bought and paid for clerk masquerading as a judge on the bench will say, well, this is quasi-criminal, okay? And so, again, they're liars, okay? Everything they do is a fraud. They're Satanists, and they won't ever come out and tell you it's a civil action. So where's the contract? Anyways, and now a little advertisement. For great custom websites, domain names, and hostings, go to cubeyard.com and use coupon code CY172 for 20% off on your first order. Cubeyard.com, your name for websites, hostings, and domain names. And back to the topic at hand. And so that's why they got to have these liars represent you and all the rest of it. And make all sorts of allegations, okay? Allegations of legal conclusions. I'm going to read everything but what's in the square brackets. The square bracket stuff has been added in, okay, to add as commentary to the particular site. And so the site is not the square brackets, okay? Allegations of legal conclusions cannot be permitted to supply essential allegations of fact. And a mere conclusion of a pleader cannot be availed of to initiate and invite an issue of fact. Allegation of conclusion of law tenders no issue, okay? And that's what these Satanist pigs do all the time, okay? Where there are no depositions, admissions, or affidavits, the court has no facts to rely on for summary determination, okay? So, again, admit nothing, okay? And if you do an affidavit of corporate denial, then that hurts them in a major way. If the record does not show upon its face the facts necessary to give jurisdiction, they will be presumed not to have existed, okay? And so, again, affidavit of corporate denial. A pleading cannot be aided by reason of facts not averred. Facts necessary to a cause of action but not alleged must be taken has no existence, okay? Again, the only thing they have jurisdiction over is corporations. This Government of Virgin Islands versus Giroux cannot assume facts and evidence even if the judge believes the facts to be accurate, okay? So again, that's an example of the liar testifying, and the judge is sitting there playing stupid, and so if you don't object and the liar testifies, the judge is going to believe what the liar is saying, and unless you bring up the fact that he cannot assume facts and evidence, even if you believe them true, or facts not in evidence, even if you believe they're true. These people are a bunch of thieves. They're a criminal cartel is what they are. The judge works for the state. The prosecutor works for the state. The police or witness works for the state. You see, they all have their bail priest uniforms on, except the cop, he's got his order follower uniform on. But there's all Roman cult. Okay, this is all Roman cult. The vast majority of the disputes, like the police initiate on behalf of their employer, are also adjudicated by their employer, where the plaintiff, the judge, the antagonist, the police, and the only witness, also the police, all represent the same party. And since no corpus delicti, mens rea, or acts reus can be produced, doesn't technically qualify to be heard according to its own laws. The state, therefore, is indistinguishable from a criminal cartel. Okay, these people are Satanists. Okay. They represent you. They make legal determinations for you. Remember, it goes back to this conclusions, allegations of legal conclusions. Okay, that's exactly what they're doing. Cannot be permitted to supply essential allegations of fact. Okay, they're making legal conclusions, and they're representing you. Anyways. Every taxpayer is assessed to a trust having sufficient interest in preventing the abuse of the trust to be recognized in the field of this court's prerogative jurisdiction. A citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the public charitable trust, the constructive Sestake Trust of U.S. Inc. under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of the USA and U.S. Inc. And that's a summary of 5 pages of the congressional record dated June 13, 1967. And so... and this is all coming from the Roman cult. This is Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835 edition, Volume 2, under the definition of mort main. Yet still it was found difficult to set bounds to ecclesiastical ingenuity. Okay, that's the Roman cult. For when they were driven out of all their former holds, they devised a new method of conveyance by which lands were granted not to themselves directly, but to nominal PIPs to the use of the religious houses, thus distinguishing between the possession and the use, and receiving the actual profits, while a season of the land remained in the nominal fiafi, who was held by the courts of equity, then under the direction of the clergy, and still under the direction of the Roman cult, to be bound in conscience to account to his sestake use for the rents and emoluments of the estate, the taxes. And it is to these inventions that our practitioners are indebted for the introduction of uses and trusts, the foundation of modern conveyancing. And it's still the foundation of modern conveyancing. And they assault you with their Sestake trust and then demand extortion and sell you into slavery. And now another little advertisement. Check out my other videos, Bankster Thieves 1, 2, and 3, Churchianity Series, Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, Bar Members 1, 2, and 3, Do-It-Yourself How Not to Volunteer for the Selective Service, Martial Laws Here, Do-It-Yourself No Income Tax, Do-It-Yourself No Sales Tax, Do-It-Yourself Traffic Stop, Do-It-Yourself Free Mail, Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Courts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, and now 7. These people are cowards, okay? They're Satanists, they're cowards. The pigs and their bosses are operating a criminal street gang. They're engaging in fraud to get you into one of their so-called contracts. I mean, and a fraud is a lie. And why do they lie? Because they're cowards. All liars are cowards. They're afraid to tell you the truth. Think about it. They're afraid to tell you that they're perjuring their oath. They're assaulting you with their so-called contract. They're all cowards. An allegation that a corporation is incorporated shall be taken as true unless denied by the affidavit of the adverse party, his agent or attorney, whether such corporation is a public or private corporation, and however created. That is the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 52. Now, not all states have this rule, but they do in Texas. And so, again, there's court cases. We talked about it earlier in the corporations, or I should say in this presentation, that they presume that just because you're getting charged with something, it's automatically the charges only goes against corporations. And so the only thing they have authority over is corporations. And so if you're getting charged with something, they're charging a corporation. You have to deny that you're a corporation. That's all you really have to do. But you're going to have to go through their show trial in Kangaroo Court, and if anything, it creates a appealable issue. But if you do it properly, before they ever see you, you can go after them for perjury of oath. That's why I do the estoppel certificates. That's one of the big things that's in my documents for the estoppel certificates is a corporate denial affidavit. And so anyways, this is under the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure. The corporate denial affidavit is the single most important thing you can do to protect yourself. It is way better to do one and record it with the county recorder before you ever come under attack. And when you do your estoppel certificate, send them a copy. There's a Word version that can be manipulated to suit your situation in the files directory of the Yahoo group. But if the watchmen see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he's taken away in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hands. This is my effort to make sure that I'm blameless on Judgment Day, and to educate people. I cannot do everything on my own, and so we need all sorts of people challenging all sorts of things with these Baal priests. And we can ultimately beat these Satanists back into their proper jurisdiction. You are now a watchman. Either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. Circulate this video far and wide and spread the word. Conclusion, copies of these documents can be found in my private group at Yahoo called Administrating Your Public Servants. I have YouTube videos that are videos of private information shares that show these and other court citations that are available for donation. And this last paragraph is for all the Satanist order follower revenue officers operating in their private capacity as a revenue officer under the Federal Tax Lien Act of 1966. Donations to support this work are appreciated. They can put these revenue officers can put their privileges and benefits up their rectal orifice because I prefer a gold or silver coin. But as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept their commercial paper IOUs, Federal Reserve notes, PayPal gifts, checks, money orders, etc. Send me an email for particulars. Anyways, my blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email address is engineerwin@yahoo. My YouTube profiles, I've got two of them, Sovereign Living and Sovereignty International. My Facebook community page I deleted due to censorship on the part of Facebook. My private group on Facebook called Sovereignty International is being deleted. It takes time to delete or to ban 17,000 people off of the group. And I am not going to let Facebook profit from my hard work. My Yahoo private group is Administrating Your Public Servants. My Google private group is Administrating Your Public Servants. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and you gotta absolutely, one of the most important things you can do is a corporate denial affidavit. Record it with the county recorder's office, and then serve them a copy when you do your estoppel certificates. And that puts them in a very difficult position. You can, if they do anything but beg forgiveness, then you can just file a criminal complaint, and then the U.S. attorney will be going over to talk to them. I'll tell you right now. I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many people I've removed. I have removed. I removed the Pennsylvania Attorney General. At least I believe I did, and other people by doing this exact thing. Okay. So you have no idea the power you have, but you got to build a case. They're not just going to take your word for it. You got to build a case and provide some evidence. And that's why it's all done by registered mail, and that's proof of service and the whole 9 yards. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you have a real nice day and get that corporate denial done. That's going to be the single best thing that you could do. And have a great day.